questions po tayo. Don't worry, we have time for question and answer mamaya. And kung nahihiya po tayo na magsalita sa mic mamaya, we have a Slido QR where you can submit your questions. Okay. Thank you so much, Doc Ray, for that amazing, actually ganda, no presentation. My key takeaway is how the contrast of modern and traditional biotechnology is actually very big. What used to take years para ma-develop through yung traditional methods natin, only take thousands of years. What used to take thousands of years now only takes ilan yung sa Golden Rice Doc? 10, 15 years? 15 years. So, that's very short in comparison sa kung gaano katagal yung developments na ganun before. And actually now, Doc, meron pa pong mga developments na mas madali, di ba? Mas mabilis pa, given yung mga modern, ayun, given yung mga modern advancements pa natin. Sa presentation daw later ni Doc Ray, meron pa pong isa, ipapresent po niya yung mga yan. Advancements in modern biotechnology has given us the power to innovate and address persistent challenges po in our country. But that power must not remain unchecked. Ngayon po, sobrang ganda ng mga advancements, sobrang ganda ng mga products ng biotechnology, but how do we make sure na those are safe? May napadaanan na kanina. And sino yung nagbabantay ng mga produkto na ito? Diba? So to discuss biosafety policies and regulations in the Philippines, allow me to introduce our second speaker. So he is a project senior technical specialist of the Department of Science and Technology, National Committee on Biosafety of the Philippines, so that's DOST and CBP. He earned his Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Biotechnology from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. He previously worked with the Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Standards, so that's under DA as well, and the Bureau of Plant Industry Biotechnology Office, where he handled biosafety permit applications and decision documents for genetically modified crops. So nandun po talaga siya sa front line of deciding whether a crop is safe or not, or should it be commercialized or not. At NCBP, he supports the preparation, implementation, and monitoring of biosafety projects and provides technical inputs to the DOST Secretary on biosafety policy and the Philippines' obligations under the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. He contributed to the development of the Joint Department Circular number 1, Series of 2021, and the NCBP Resolution on Plant Breeding Innovations, and is currently involved with the Bureau of Animal Industry and Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources in drafting the guidelines on GM and genome-edited animals. Let us welcome Mr. Raymond S. Corona.
Hello? Hi. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So, ang hirap sundan ni Doc Perdonio. So, batak na batak ako si Doc Ray. So, I'll try my best. So, again, ako po si Raymond Corona from DOST, National Committee on Biosafety of the Philippines. So, my presentation will focus on understanding biosafety policies and regulations of the Philippines. Kung ibibigay ko sa inyo yung buong regulations, boring siya kahit ako, nabobore ako pagka tignan mo yung voluminous document. So, I try to be konting interactive and mag-insert ako ng konting pop culture references on this presentation. So these are photos. Ito ay border na GM corn. Pero yung transgenic plant talaga dyan ay rice. This was taken sa Philrice Batak during one of our monitoring activities. And ito naman ay sa Iri, yung pahaba. So yan ay GM rice din. So again, I'm from NCBP, National Committee on Biosafety. So, ang focus na ng work namin is on policy development. But previously sa BPI, I was a regulator. Ako nag-handle nung application ng Golden Rice for FFP, for direct use at that time. Tapos kasabay din nun yung BT eggplant. Pero nung may BT eggplant, lumipat na po ako ng DOST. Pero hindi dahil sa eggplant. So first, let's define biotechnology. So again, sabi nga po ni Sir Rain, I'm a graduate of BS Agricultural Biotechnology. So I would want to quote isa sa nanay namin sa Agricultural Biotechnology, si Dr. Evelyn May Texon Mendoza. So, nung undergrad kami, isa ako sa unang student ng BS Agricultural Biotechnology program ng UPL. So, ganito siya dinidefine sa amin, pinakasimple. Any biology-based technology which uses organisms or their parts to make or modify products or improve. So, laging may purpose, may intent. Kasi di ba, laging sinasabihin na ang biotechnology is playing God, parang nilalaro-laro mo ang genes. But again, ang gusto ko i-emphasize dito, laging may sense, laging may puso ang biotechnology. May purpose tayo, hindi tayo nagsasayang ng resources and everything. Nililinang natin ang ating kaalaman to do something that's productive. And that's something to improve the plants, animals, and microorganisms. Okay, ulit. Okay, so ito na ano na ni Dr. Ray kanina. So ano lang, practical application. So biotechnology is all part of our lives. Kahit sa atin yung sabihin natin most of our diet, makain tayo. So Dilis Bagong from Bicol. Kasi ginamit ko po itong slide na ito nung presentation ko sa Bicol. Kaya Dilis Bagong from Bicol. So Quezon Puti. And then classical biotechnology din yung tinatawag natin tissue culture, uso sa mga orchids. And then yung sa baba, modern biotechnology, ito na yung mga transgenic crops usually. So BT corn, golden rice, BT talong. And then dito na tayo gumagamit ng iba pang tools, applications ng modern biotechnology. So ito, mas graphical viewpoint lang kung makikita natin yung scope of biotechnology. Again, this is from our mother, Dr. Mendoza. So modern biotechnology, ito yung definition ng modern biotechnology based on our National Biosafety Framework. So sinabi na po ni Doc Rian, gumagamit ng recombinant DNA technology at ipinasok siya sa isang organism. So fusion of cells beyond the taxonomic family that overcome natural physiological barriers. For example, yung pong BT corn. Yung pong BT gene ay galing sa mikrobyo. Galing siya sa isang microorganism na present sa lupa at nilagay sa mais. Hindi siya magiging posible, or at least based on the science that's available right now, hindi siya magiging posible on natural breeding methods. But through modern biotechnology, naging posible siya, and we reap the benefits of it. I always remember si then Yusek Fred Serrano ng Department of Agriculture. May naalala lagi akong quote niya sa newspaper na basa ng student ako. Kinakredit na niya ang GM technology as one of the technology or the main technology that saves the corn industry in the Philippines. So ganun ka-importante. Imagine kung hindi natin nalinang ang modern biotechnology to improve our corn production. So baka yung mais isa pa sa problema natin sa ngayon. So noong 2001, time ni then President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, nag-release siya ng policy statement on modern biotechnology. This was actually forwarded by different secretaries. Secretary of Agriculture, Science and Technology, even yung NAPSI that time, National Anti-Poverty Commission, that time, 2001, they forwarded this to the Malacanang, and the Malacanang signed and approved it. So it states that we shall promote the safe and responsible use of modern biotechnology. Sabi nga po ni Ms. Mars kanina, nasa AFMA na. Biotechnology is part of our methods para mapalakas ang agrikultura ng ating bansa. And its products as one of several means to achieve and sustain hindi lamang pampagkain, food security, but equitable access to health services. So pumasok si DOH. Sustainable safe environment, pumasok si DNR. And industry development, pumasok si DTI. So sinasabi lamang nito na kailangan may checks and balance tayo. We recognize the benefits that we can get from modern biotechnology, but we have to do it responsibly. At sa madaling sabi, yun yung regulations. So, ang regulations exist hindi para pahirapan ng tech devs. Si Doc Ray, for example, hindi nag-exist ang regulations para, Doc Ray, huwag ka mag-research dyan, mag-record namin ng ganito, ganyan. It's just to ensure na everyone is doing their job, to ensure the safe and responsible use of modern biotechnology. So, biosafety. So, ito kasi lagi magkatali. Biosafety, biotechnology. So, ang definition ng biosafety natin, based on the National Biosafety Framework, is a condition in which the probability of harm, injury, and damage, statistics, resulting from the intentional and unintentional introduction and or use of a regulated article is within acceptable and manageable levels. Ibig sabihin lang, sa mais na lang ulit tayo mag-focus, kapag ba kinain ng hayop ang GM corn, would it result to harm, injury, or damage? Kung halimbawa, ang isang, kunyari hipon, ang hipon, di ba, known allergen siya. Ako, allergic ako sa hipon. Pero kung halimbawa, pag, let's say may GM na hipon na available sa market, kapag pa nagkaroon ako ng allergic reaction dahil kinain ko ang GM shrimp, kasalanan ba yun dahil GM siya?
GM siya.
No, kasi shrimp siya eh. So, yung risk ng pagkain ng hipon, regardless kung GM siya or hindi, present. So, isa yun sa measure natin. And dahil ba GM siya, kaya ako naging allergic? Hindi. Kahit conventional hipon,
May
pwede ako
allergy.
magkakamot ako maghapon. So, dahil na-identify tayong risk, ma-manage natin yung risk. So, paano ang levels ng risk management? For example, level, siguro naman hindi ako makangate kung isang piraso lang ng tempura kakainin ko. Pero kung kakain ako ng isang bowl ng tempura, malamang sa malamang mga ako. And kapag halimbawa, aksidente ko nakain, anong pwede natin gawin? Iinom ako sa tirisin. So, that's how you manage risk. That's the practical way of looking at what the regulators are doing. Yan, sabi ko sa inyo, may math lang konti, statistics. So, basic lang yan. Risk is equal to hazard times the exposure. So, ito yung pinaka-basic way of looking kung ano yung regulations. So, yung risk, hazard is the potential cause of harm. Exposure is the likelihood of contact with the hazard. Ang hirap intindihin, letters na ginawa equation. Ano ba yan? So, dito lang tayo mag-focus. Lahat naman po siguro tayo nagluluto. Or nakapagluto kahit itlog, pansit canton. Nakagamit na LPG, pagpalagay ko na lang lahat. So, naalala nyo, kilala natin si Ninong Rai. Si Ninong Rai, naalala ko sa isang vlog niya, kunento niya, sabugin siya sa mukha ng Google. Dahil butas pala yung hose ng LPG. Sumabog sa mukha niya. Eh di dapat iba na natin ang pagbe-bake. May nasabugan eh. Diba? But hindi natin siya ginagawa. Kasi nga, kaya natin i-manage yun.
Yung risk.
Alam natin ang sanhi. So, ibig sabihin lang yan, kailangan i-ensure natin yung mga boss natin sa LPG ay maayos. So, ipagpalagay natin yan sa isang pagluluto. I-apply natin yung R is equal to H times E. Ang hazard dyan, yung LPG is flammable and can explode. Alam natin lahat yan. Kaya lagi natin pinapatay yung mga tangke. Lalo kayo mga mag-overrate dito ng ilang araw. Exposure. Gas leaks into the kitchen. Eh, naiiwan natin bukas. May tagas pala yung host natin. Eh di yung yung kusina mo, marami ng gas. Eh may nagyosi. Okay, may nagsindi ng lighter. Eh di, magkaroon ng fire explosion. So, ibig sabihin, mag-o-occur yung risk or yung level of risk is depende sa level ng hazard and exposure. So, pagpalagay naman natin, kailangan present siya pareho. Halimbawa, exposure, may tagas nga, pero wala naman nagsindi. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa rin sasabog. Conversely, kung may magsindi man ng lighter o may nagyosi doon sa kusina nyo, pero wala naman tagas, hindi pa rin sasabog. So, hazard exposure should be present para magkaroon ng, para ma-determine natin yung level ng risk. So, kung may risk man, kaya natin siya i-manage. Number 1, ensure na walang tagas. Number 2, patay natin ang LPG. Number 3, huwag ka magyosi o magsindi ng lighter sa loob ng kusina, di ba?
Tama.
Or number 4, pag open kitchen, hindi yung sa loob. So, di ba? That's the practical way of looking at it. Ganon din tinitingnan ng regulators yung mga
GMO.
product na Doc Ray na sinasubject sa regulatory pipeline. Siyempre, mas complex yung science, but yung logic behind it or the process, ganito ko siya ihahantulan. Ganito ko siya ipapaliwanag sa inyo na lahat tayo nagre-risk assessment. Hindi lang scientist ang gumagawa ng risk assessment. So, okay. Jump tayo sa biosafety naman. National context. Tulad na sinabi Doc Ray, we're one of the first countries in the region to conduct modern biotechnology R&D and establish biosafety regulations. Lagi nating sinasabi, lagi maririnig, Philippines is the leader in biosafety and biotechnology, modern biotechnology. And that's true, we should take pride in it. Kahit marami tayong challenges na hinaharap ngayon, no one can take the fact na we are the leaders. Kahit may problema tayo pa rin na leaders. The whole region is looking at us. So ganun ka-important ang ginagawa ng developers, ganun ka-important ang ginagawa ng policy makers, at ganun ka-important ang ginagawa ng regulators. Hindi lamang Pilipinas ang tumitingin. Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, lahat yan. Tinitingnan ko anong nangyayari. The National Biosafety Framework governs the development, adoption, and implementation of biosafety policies in the country. So mamaya, bigyan natin ng padaloy ang NBF na yan, National Biosafety Framework. Ayoko mag-sound legalistic kasi again, it would sound boring. So, basically, pinakita na ito ni Doc Ray kanina, regulatory pathway for GM crops in the Philippines. So, yung mga gene validation, mostly ang trabaho ni Doc Ray ay nandito sa yung dalawang blue, contained use and confined test. So, ganito lang yan kasimple, contained use pag nasa laboratory. Confined test, inilabas mo na sa laboratory, greenhouse, na may mga harang pa din yan. Kung nakapunta na kayo sa Erie or sa PhilRice, marami kayo makikita ng sites na ganyan. Ngayon, yung case naman ng Golden Rice, yung experience nila, di ba na-deploy na yan sa different parts of the country. Even the BT eggplant.
Yun yung field trial.
Yung field trial na po sila. Ito na yung mas malaki at mas maraming environmental data ka na kinukuha. Kasi syempre, kapag ka nag-confined test ka sa Muñoz, iba, makukuha mo lang ng environmental data ay doon sa Muñoz. Paano kapag ka doon sa ibang parts? Halimbawa, sa Mindanao, yung mas maulan. Gusto mo tingnan daw kung gaano magpo-persist ang iyong golden rice, for example. Kaya ka nagkakondak ng field trial to get more environmental data. Commercial propagation, pagka na-approve ka na yan, ibig sabihin, pwede nang ibenta yung mga buto, binhi, or pwede nang i-release. Sa kaso ng mga mais natin, yung mga MON 810 na na-approve, 2002, 2003, ito yung pagka pumunta kayo sa Isabela, marami nakatanim. Kasi binebenta na yun nakasako. Tapos naka-labels talaga silang GM crops. And direct use as food and feed. Ito naman, for example, soybean. Yung soybean meal usually ginagamit for livestock.
Animal feeds.
Ng feeds. Hindi tayo nakaka-grow dito ng ng soybean. Pero sa mga animal nutritionists, alam natin na super important source ng crude protein itong soybean. So paano? Anong dumadating sa atin? Soybean. And mostly, I think 95+% ng soybean production in the world ay GM. Sige, mababasa niyo yung mga Vitasoy nyo na GMO. But 95% of the production ng soybean ay GM. So, pinapa-approve yun sa atin for food and feed safety para pag dumating dito, we can utilize it. Ang mga farmers natin, magagamit yun para sa livestock. Meron silang crude protein source. Meron tayong baboy, meron tayong baka. Even sa manok yata ginagamit din, sir. So imagine kung magkaroon ng shortage ng soybean. Eh di lahat tayo kakain ng munggo as protein. Diba? Wala mo nang nangyari siya before. Bawas muna ang di ba yung chicken sad? Posible mangyari yon. Though hindi siya dahil sa soybean pero yung nagwala nga ang Pilipinas nung nagka-chicken sad, yung chicken joy, nagkulang na chicken. So imagine pagka nakat mo yung mga feeds. Ay ang mga feeds na nila nanggagaling GM din. So, yung second layer naman, ito yung primary oversight. So yung contagious and confined test, kino-consider natin yan as R&D phase. It's under the purview of the DOST Biosafety Committee. Kami din po pala ang DOST Biosafety Committee. The NCBP Secretariat serves as the Secretariat ng DOST Biosafety Committee. And kapag naman towards commercialization field trial, commercial propagation, and direct use, ang lead na po niyan ay Bureau of Plant Industry. So this is governed by the Philippine Biosafety Guidelines, yung dalawang blue, at yung green sa Joint Department Circular. Pero cited din naman po ang Philippine Biosafety Guidelines sa Joint Department Circular. At yung last part, bilang tayo po ay mga communicators, I think this is very important to emphasize. Any stage, may transparency and public participation. We put premium into it. Halimbawa, Doc Ray would attest to it. Nung nagpunta sila nag-deploy sila ng Golden Rice all over the Philippines, yung public information sheet, tina-translate yan, depende ko anong lengguwahe. Halimbawa, Ilocano. Naka-Ilocano yung buong document.
Para
Naka-English pa, may Filipino pa. So bakit maximum? Ensure natin na lahat nakikita. or may avenue para
Naiintindihan.
kung ano yung technology. We provide them all the information that's necessary. We inform the public what's happening. Kasi bukod sa that's inherent sa ating sistema, kung magiging legal tayo, DILG requires it din. So, bukod sa ating legal obligation, meron din tayo obligation talaga na we promote transparency talaga kasi it's a public trust. And of course, public participation kasi pag nabasa nila, teka, may comment ako, parang gusto kong tanongin yung lead scientist ng Golden Rice, project leader. May mechanisms para magkausap sila. So, they are invited to actually provide comments to write. So, may mga mechanisms na sineset ng ating regulations to ensure that the public can participate in the decision-making process. And that's very important. Public is part of the decision-making process. All the comments are taken into consideration in making the decision. Siyempre, hindi naman kung ano lang sabihin ng public yun na. But it plays a part. So, parang balancing action. Mamaya makikita niyo yung flowchart, describe ko kung anong klase mga dokumento ang nare-receive ng isang decision maker. Ayan, 1987, ano nangyari? Na-release yung Bad. Ito yung second best album ng Michael Jackson. So ano siya, kanina nung ginagawa ko ng slide,
After the trailer.
yeah, after the trailer, Doc Paul knows.
Alam
So
ba?
kanina kasi nung ginagawa ko slide, okay, full disclosure, madaling araw ginagawa ko po yung slides ko. Nag-play yung Bad. Tapos ayan, 1987, sakto! Ano pa ba nangyari ng 1987? Yan. UPLB Erie Joint Committee on Biosafety. Nabuo siya. Kasi nung time na yon, ang mga scientists natin malilikot pinapunta. 1970, umusbong na yung recombinant DNA technology. By 1975, na-recognize na ng globally, at least sa US, kailangan na ng regulations for recombinant DNA technology kasi super powerful tool. Kasi imagine mo, daling sa mikrobyo na ihalo sa sa halaman, the possibilities are endless. And this is a new technology, 1970s. So kung may pinanganak noong 1975, ilang taon na ngayon? Huwag na tayo mag-age reveal, pero you can do naman.
50 lang, matanda na.
50 years old na.
Tanda na, di ba? So, yung scientists ng mga Erie, props to them, and UPLB, naisip nila, teka, super powerful tool ito. We need to come up with something. Kailangan natin i-regulate ang ating mga sarili to ensure the safe and responsible use. 1987 before pa noong 2001 na nagkaroon tayo ng policy. So, makikita natin how grounded the scientists were back then. So, this joint committee na buo sa foot ng Mount Makiling, lagi ko sinasabi, was created to formulate biosafety guidelines in response to the emerging use of modern biotech tools for crop genetic improvement. Ang Erie nun, they're using recombinant DNA technology na for breeding So parang kailangan na mag-sell. And I'm proud na isa sa prominent figures nitong committee ito was National Scientist Dolores Ramirez, na ngayon ay actively serving pa sa DOST Biosafety Committee. So living proof, living legacy. So ang biosafety system natin legally nag-exist siya since 2006 dahil sa NBF. Pero si DR is like 40 years na at least wala nabuo yung committee ito. So ito, pinilosop ko lang, may pathway. So nag-mark lang ako ng ilang years just to give everyone a historical development ng biosafety regulations for GM crops. So although sinabi kong biosafety regulations, syempre nilagay ko din dyan yung mga key crops natin tsaka yung perturbations, quote-unquote, like the rate of kalikasan. I think it's very important kasi it dictates how the policy is being revised and updated then. So makikita nyo, 1987, yung work nila nag-lead to the issuance of Executive Order 430 noong 1990. Kaya po nabuo ang opisina namin ng NCBP. Then 1991 naman, merong guidelines kasing ginawa nga yung Joint Committee on Biosafety. Maraming pinagdaan ng public consultation, through NAS, then eventually sinabi ng DOST, sige, i-issue natin siya as Philippine Biosafety Guidelines. First edition. And that same document ay ginagamit pa rin natin hanggang ngayon. Fourth edition yung ginagamit ngayon ng DOST Biosafety Committee. Last updated 2014. At ito rin yung naging basis para sa guidelines natin for field trial na ginamit ng Department of Agriculture noong 2002, ginamit natin noong 2016 at noong 2021. So, this really laid the foundation kung paano natin tatakbuhin ang modern biotech. And sabi nga ni Doc Ray, kung walang regulations, hindi rin magpo-proceed yung technology. Diba? So yan, kita nyo, 99, banda dito ako pinanganak ko. So yan, hanggang umabot na 2024, secondary of kalikasan. Yan, so yan yung brief pathway natin. So, ang gusto ko lang pasadahan to, one slide lang to, kasi this is just Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. It's an international framework for the transboundary movement. Focus on transboundary movement. Handling and use of living modified organisms. So, party tayo dito kung baga pumirma ang Pilipinas. Noong 2000 yan, una, yung document lumabas. Pumirma ang Pilipinas. Pero noong 2006 tayo formally nag-commit sa protocol. Kasi doon tayo nagkaroon ng National Biosafety Framework. So, kinakailangan yung National Biosafety Framework para maging formally committed doon sa protocol na ito. Tapos may ano pa to, Senate resolution pa para officially tayo maging party sa isang international treaty. Can you imagine? Medyo nakakatawa lang siya, honestly. Looking back. 1987 meron na tayo 1990, 91. Tapos dahil lang kailangan natin pumasok dito sa isang protocol na ito, we had to come up with a National Biosafety Framework. Kaya naman din, yung NCBP, dati regulator, naging policy development, policy making body na. And mas na-decentralized yung regulations, like inangkla na sa Department of Agriculture, involvement ng Department of Health, Department of Environment, Department of Science and Technology, DILG, tapos kung makikita niyo yung composition ng NCBP, member din ng DEI, DFA. Kasi nga, it's an international treaty, so may mga country positions na hindi nalaban din. Balik ko muna. So, yung principles niya, advancing form agreements, sinasabi lamang nito na any party na Cartagena Protocol, bago mag-receive ng living modified organism, dapat informed sila. So, kung halimbawa, country A, magpapasok ng GM organism sa Pilipinas, dapat sasabihin ni country A kay Pilipinas. Si Pilipinas, i-review yun, at pag nakita niya, okay, kaya namin i-manage yung risk nito, sige, pasok mo. So, dati kasi, hindi lahat ng countries mayroon regulations. And we're fortunate na halimbawa ang Pilipinas, 2006, meron na tayong functioning biosafety system. Kasi ang DA, ang dami nang na-approve nun for commercialization. Ang DOST, NCBP, ang dami nang na-approve din na research and development activities. So hindi na natin kinailangan yung advanced informed agreement na parang transitory provision or parang template kasi meron na tayo content. Risk assessment. So again, yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina, lahat tayo nagre-risk assessment in our everyday lives. And lastly, precautionary approach. Hindi ibig sabihin walang consensus, hindi na tayo magde-decide on things. So we need to balance safety, pero hindi dapat natin pigilan ang innovation, di ba? We balance, we manage. I-ensure lang lagi natin na any risk na ma-identify natin or potentially na natin ay kaya natin i-manage. So we make decision based on those. So yun nga, dahil nga administratively required tayo magkaroon ng National Biosafety Framework, noong 2006 na issue ang EO 514. Ang key elements lang naman ito, hindi natin papasadahan lahat. So policy, so yeah, inangkla siya sa policy on right to environment, right to safety, the role of science and technology, lahat yung mga preambulatory clauses natin. Inangkla doon inangkla ang National Biosafety Framework. Second, institutions, dito sinabi kung ano yung role ng bawat ahensya. Si DOST focused to ensure that the best science is being utilized in the decision-making process. Si DA ang magiging competent national authorities on any matters related to food security and crops and animals. Kapag naman tungkol sa wildlife, bioremediation, si DENR. At pagkatungkol naman sa health or sa mga for example, vaccines na hindi covered ng other international treaties kay DOH. Fortunately, most, if not all, ng vaccines na ginagamit for humans ay covered ng WHO. So, hindi siya pumapasok sa Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety. Kaya katulad ng mga tinurok sa atin ng mga COVID vaccines, hindi siya covered ng Cartagena dahil under siya ng WHO. Pero yun, ano yan? Ang tawag na like mRNA, di ba? So, lahat yun, modern biotechnology din. Yeah. So, risk assessment and informed decision making, may dedicated slides ako for it. Public awareness and participation tulad na sinabi ko, every step kasama tayo lahat sa decision making process. Okay, ito, sa decision making process, ito ang mga tinitingnan. Standard of precaution, risk assessment, environmental impact assessment, socio-economic, ethical, cultural considerations, advanced informed agreement, monitoring and enforcement. So mag-focus tayo sa risk assessment. Sakop na niyan yung environmental risk assessment. So it's mandatory and central in safety decision making. So primarily, we decide based on the risk na ma-identify natin. Kaya importante ito. Kasi paano mo i-handle yung halimbawa, nung case nila Dr. Ordonio, GM rights. Paano mo siya i-manage properly? You have to identify the risk. So you have to do the risk assessment. So, a risk assessment process should be scientific. Dapat hindi siya base sa hearsay. Dapat pagka may claim ka, kaya mo i-back up yan by evidence. It should be transparent. And I believe the system is very transparent. Bukod sa ginagawa ng regulators, even the technology developers have been doing caravans to say na ito yung mga measures na tinake namin to ensure na it would be safe bago dumating sa mga plates nyo. And based on available data, kaya po malaki ang investment sa modern biotechnology kasi we have to come up with data. And believe me, ito ang pinakamahal na component to generate the data. At bakit kailangan yung data? Kasi para scientific yung way of doing things natin. Kasi ito yung ipapasa nila sa regulators eh. So yung mga regulators, hindi lamang yan nakikinig na kung anong sabi, pinulong lang. Alam ba si Doc Ray, lalapit sa BPI, sabihin niya, safe tong golden rice, I would assure you, kasi meron akong PhD, postdoc ako, magna cum laude ako. So, kung wala kang data, it's not gonna work. Diba? Kaya pag dumating si Doc Ray, sa BPI noon, ang kapal ng bulto-bulto na libro, like ganyan kataas na kahon. Kasi gano'n kakapal yung data na tinitingnan just to say na safe ang golden rice. Di ba ang simple yung sasabihin sa inyo na hindi safe ang golden rice. Anong reason? Hindi ka bibigyan ng basis. Pero kapag kayo regulators, for example, I think it's safe to say, na-issue siya ng biosafety permit, di ba? Yes, 2 pages lang siya, like back to back. Pero yung tinignan ng regulators, ganyan kakapal na dokumento. So, and I would vouch na tinignan yan yung ganyan kakapal na dokumento. So that's how we do the risk assessment. Lack of knowledge or consensus does not indicate a level or absence of risk. Hindi porket hindi natin alam, sabihin natin, ay, unsafe yan. Or hindi ako familiar dyan eh. Hindi yan safe. Diba? So, third, compare the regulated article's risk with its non-modified counterpart under the same conditions. Yun nga, ikukumpara mo yung rice sa rice din. Diba? For example, titingnan mo yung golden rice. Ano bang intended change sa golden rice? Mas mataas sa expression ng vitamin A dun sa mismong grain ng kinakain mismo. So, hindi mo siya ikukumpara sa ibang organismo. Sa mais din, ganun din. Sa talong, ganun din. At sa animals, later on, ganun din ang gagawin natin. It's case by case based on transformation event. For example, sa mais to, very relevant. Ang dami ng GM corn na resistant sa Asiatic corn borer. Iba-iba labels. Pero hindi ibig sabihin, ito, corn borer lang din ang target niyan. Hindi na namin yung risk assessment kasi nakapag-approve na kami. Basta iba ang transformation event, may sariling risk assessment na gagawin dyan. Sariling sistema. At sariling pasa ng dokumento na naman. And we reassess risk if new relevant information becomes available. In any case, we're not saying na absolutely 100% sure na hanggang sa end ng humanity ay safe at mag-i-stand yung decision natin based on the risk assessment. Science is evolving. We keep on learning new things. So if there would be a time na kailangan i-review yung assessment na ginawa ng regulators, pwedeng i-open yon. Basta substantiated yung claims. So ito yung sinasabi ko po kanina, Philippine Biosafety Guidelines. So this is for contained use and confined test implemented by the DOST Biosafety Committee. May pictures ako. Ayan. So, ganito lang difference ng contained use. Contained use, laboratorial. So, yan, pagka i-inspection kami, mahigpit po kami dyan. Kasi bago mag-implement ng isang project, halimbawa, may isang project na, I think this one is, isang state university to. Meron silang project, gusto nila mag-work on GM tomato. As a model plant lang ha, bago namin approve yung project or bago namin bigyan ng vouch, kasi po DOST funded project eh. So nandaan mas nakikita namin. So before namin yung bigyan ng biosafety clearance, i-check namin, pupunta kami sa facility nila. O lahat ba, ang pinaka-in yan is to ensure na walang lalabas na transgenic material unintentionally. So paano mo measure yan? Maraming measures ka ilalagay. Like for example, ito, limited access, ayan, may gate, may lock. Tapos ito may plastic pa yung parang ano eh, yung parang sa mga car wash, lulusutan mo para hindi ka agad makapasok. Then pinto, pagpasok mo ng pinto, may anteroom pa dyan or parang room na kung saan pagpagan lang. Tapos pagpasok niyo po dyan, ito po, sa baba, yung footwear namin dyan lang sa loob yan. Yung footwear namin na galing sa labas, hindi ka makakapasok dun sa designated area. Tapos, kung may working na pong mga materials dyan, naka-PPE din po kami dyan. Noong time na to, wala pa kasi na-approve pa lang namin yung facility. Pagdating naman, pag sinabi namin confined test, ito medyo field trial na siya. Ito naman po ay sa iba't ibang confined test facilities. Ito sa Muñoz, Batak, Los Baños. So kapag po ginagawa yung mga inspection na yan, kasama po natin sila. Institutional Biosafety Committee. So bukod sa DOST Biosafety Committee, at the institution level, may ownership dapat ng biosafety. Kaya po nire-require natin na mayroong Institutional Biosafety Committee. So, it's the first level of biosafety oversight within institutions conducting biotech research. Ang function nila, review biosafety aspects of proposed activities. So for example, si Doc Ray na project leader, may GM project. Bago siya ipasa sa amin sa DOST Biosafety Committee, nireview na po siya ng Institutional Biosafety Committee ng PhilRISE. Second, conduct initial risk assessment, ensure compliance with national guidelines, monitor ongoing projects. So, sino ba ang composition ng IBC? Of course, kailangan may scientists na naiintindihan ng technology. Pangalawa, this is important, community representative na may stature sa komunidad. For example, yung mga nasa baba, ito ay from Muñoz. I think yung isa pastor. If I, tama sir, no? Itong naka-black ay pastor. So, kilala siya, integral part siya ng community. Ito ay sa Ilocos, Batak, Ilocos Norte. Ito na lang yung gagawin ko example. This one is in Erie, Los Baños. Yung naka-blue na ito, elected official po siya, konsehala. So we require at least na, para hindi na po sila mahirapan kasi pagdating sa field trial, nire-require po ng DILG na may elected official. So might as well sa level pa lang ng IBC for contained use and confined test, mag-engage na po tayo ng elected official. Kasi expected natin na pag nakatas kayo ng R&D, co-commercialize nyo, mas maganda na yung IBC nyo naiintindihan buong proseso, di ba? Bakit sila mahalaga? Kasi sila kumbaga magiging champion natin sa komunidad eh. Na ang proseso natin ay transparent. Ay, lalo to, elected official, alam nga magtago yan, di ba? That's betrayal of public trust. Tapos, nag-employ din ng scientists na naiintindihan ang science behind the GM technology. Plug ko lang po yung website ng DOSBC. Makapal po kasi yung libro and medyo wala na kami printed. No? You can download it here. Dito tuloy yung mga naka-bookmark. Salary grade. And so, dosbc.dos.gov.ph. So, pagpunta nyo po, homepage to, guidelines, then guidelines for continuous GMOs. PDF file siya, you can download it. So makikita nyo kung gaano karaming forms ang ina-accomplish ng IBC. Kasi ganun karaming information na hindi ina-committee. At yung forms na yun, ano pa, kailangan pag naglagay ka doon ng information, meron kang journal articles na kailangan to substantiate your claims. Ganun na naman kapal. So buti nga po ngayon na uso na ang attachment Google Drive. Kasi kung dati-dati po, kahon po talaga na-receive namin. Mas interested ako dun sa mga nakabuker. Yan. Sasabihin natin, yay, tapos na kayo sa research and development, ako din na yung necessary data, lahat na reportorial requirements, na ipasa nyo na, na-clear nyo na. So, syempre, what comes next? Di ba gusto ng DA, ma-commercialize siya. Gusto natin makarating siya sa mesa. Gusto natin magamit ng mga farmers natin. So, papasok na po siya sa Joint Department Circular. Ito po for crafts, ha? So, yan po yung title ng haba. So, essentially, from research and development hanggang release into the environment, covered ng circular na ito. And then, nag-i-implement po nito 5 ahensya. DOST, DA, DNR, DOH, DILG. As I said, ang single entry point po ng government transaction na ito ay Bureau of Plant Industry. Tapos, it covers field trial, commercial propagation, and direct use. So, dahil compliant po tayo sa ARTA at ayaw natin ng administrative cases, sayang po ang benefits, sumusunod po tayo sa 40 working days. Bakit po 40 working days? Di ba 20 lang? Ano yan? 3, 7, 20? Ano po yan eh? Nakalagay naman doon clause, pwede mong doblehin. Yung 20 times 2. Lalo kung justified. And in this case, justified po. Kasi ang risk assessment, ang gumagawa po ay Joint Assessment Group na ang member ay representatives ng DOST, DA, DNR, DOH Biosafety Committee. Interagency po siya. So this is one of the proudest provisions that we have sa Joint Department Circular number 1 since 2021. Previously, we rely on the external expertise. Pero dahil nga po sa pag-progress natin, ang dami na nating projects na ginawa, ang dami na nating commercialize, GM crops, at ang dami na rin pong capacity development activities na pinagdaanan ng ating mga regulators from these agencies, we made sure to increase, or at least the idea of the technical working group back then, is to increase confidence of the public in the decision-making ng government. Ang gumagawa po niya ng government institutions. So it performs science-based risk assessment of applications for field trials, commercial propagation, and direct use under the circular. So ito po picture namin 2017. Maraming secretary dyan. So sa mesa pong ito, may taga Bureau of Plant Industry. Ako po taga Bureau of Plant Industry pa noon. At taga Department of Health. So nag-hand-holding activities po talaga tayo. Dati, syempre, mas advanced yung kaalaman ng DABPI. But dahil nga ilang taon na rin naman, nakahabol na din, and I can confidently say that the Joint Assessment Group has been beneficial to actually empower the government institutions to make risk assessment lang pala on this level. So ang biosafety decision po kasi ay si Director ng Bureau of Plant Industry. Siya nag-i-issue ng biosafety permit. Ito flow chart. Di ba kung ito present ko, napaka-boring. So for field trial, 40 working days, 35 to 40 working days. So sa level na to, start, pagkapasa ng application, essentially yung document, ipa-fire out sa different biosafety committees. Tapos mag-endorse sila ng representative sa Joint Assessment Group. Dito na mangyayari yung risk assessment. Eh teka, sinasabi niyo, sir, may public participation, it's part and parcel with everything. Opo, tama. Ayan o. Public participation. Medyo kasabay po yan. It concurrently happens doon sa 40 working days. Sa field trial, mahigpit po. Kasi required kayo dyan mag-public consultation kung saan nyo gagawin yung field trial. For example, pagpalagay natin Quezon City natin ginawa. Sa Quezon City, kailangan magpa-sponsor kayo sa local government unit to have a public consultation. As in yung parang session. And then, ang pinaka-output nyo doon is kailangan makakuha kayo ng resolution from the sangguniang panglungsod or pangbayan na inaalaw kayo mag-conduct ng field trial sa Quezon City. So pagpalagay natin nakuha na yun. Of course, it's easier said than done kasi public scrutiny na pagdadaanan mo dyan. Lahat ng klaseng tao pagdadaanan mo. di, nakuha na kunyari yun. Meron kayong requirement A. Yung JAG, ang output po niyan is the Consolidated Risk Assessment Report. So dito, chinecheck yung safety. Hindi nila tinitingnan dyan yung any considerations. Ang focus ng ating regulators po from the biosafety committees ay yung safety. Food and food safety, environmental safety. Kapag may information na kailangan silang itanong sa technology developer, kasi kulang yung dossier, ganyan kakapal, kulang pa. It happens. Yung 40 working days po nag-i-stop kasi kailangan namin bigyan ng sufficient time ng technology developer to respond. Halimbawa, si Doc Ray may project, tapos during the risk assessment, meron pa kaming kailangan itanong kay Doc Ray. Siyempre, hindi naman si Doc Ray alam na kagad yung sagot. You have to give them time. So, may understanding, you stop the clock. Yung 40 working days, kung nag-run siya, tapos na-communicate kay Doc Ray, halimbawa, on the 15th day, Doc Ray, kailangan mo mag-respond. So, nakastop ka sa 15 working days. Now, nakadepende yung kay Doc Ray kung pwedeng next year niya sagutin. Hindi, nakabin-bin ang application for biosafety permit. Pero kung nasagot ni Doc Ray ng 5 days, after 5 days, tuloy na ulit. Pagka-receive namin nung response ni Doc Ray, day 60, tuloy-tuloy na ulit. So, sabihin natin, okay na po, based on the Joint Assessment Group's evaluation, it's as safe as its conventional counterpart, darating na yan sa mesa ni BPI Director. Ay, nakalimutan ko, public participation. Nagre-record din tayo ng posting sa conspicuous places. Yung sinasabi ko na tinatranslate, ay may nabasa ka, halimbawa, napatambay ka sa barangay hall ng Sacred Heart, kunyari sa Quezon City. Teka, may comment ako about the project. Lahat ng comments, iniipon din po yan ng Bureau of Plant Industry. Aside from the comments from the public participation, sasabit din po yan ng technology developer. At the same time, yung resolution na na-secure nila. Tapos meron ka na scientific assessment. Saan mapupunta yon? Isa lang po, sa mesa po ni BPI Director. And si BPI Director has to make the decision based on the information na provide sa kanya. So, dito, papasok na iba pang considerations, socio-economic considerations, like, depende kung ano pang policy ng Department of Agriculture regarding these technologies, kung meron man, specific. In the base of that, dalawa lang po ang output naman, either approve or disapprove. Pag disapprove, halimbawa si Doc Ray, hindi ako in-approve ng BPI Director, kanino ako pwede pumunta? Sa Department of Agriculture po.
Secretary.
Mas mataas na entity. Yes po. So, yun yung field trial. So, ganun din po sa commercial propagation, minus lamang po yung public hearing. And then, available din po sa website yung mga PIS. Website po ng NCBP at website ng DA Bureau of Plant Industry. Sa Bureau of Plant Industry po, hindi ko nailagay dito. Buplant, biotech.buplant.gov.ph. Sa amin naman po, nakalagay naman mamaya, ncbp.dos.gov.ph. Sa homepage po, makikita nyo na yung tab doon, no? Status of applications. So, ganun din po sa commercial propagation.
Parang mas maigsi yung ano.
Pareho lang po siya na 35 to 40 working days. Mas masalimuot lang po talaga sa totoo. Yung sa public, sa field trial. Kasi kapag hindi po makapag-convene ng public consultation ng sanggunian, talaga pong ma-extend. Kasi hindi pa po ma-generate yung technology developer yung kinakailangan na clearance from the local government unit. So, yun yung sa Joint Department Circular. Now, kanina po nabanggit kanina sa introduction ko na naging part kami nung sa DE resolution, NCBP resolution on plant breeding innovations. And we're very proud na ang chair po namin doon ay si Dr. Gordonio. And base po doon, they recommended na kailangan magkaroon tayo ng policy para ma-determine o masabi natin na yung isang product ng gene editing. Yun na po yung mas bago ngayon. Medyo luma na yung GM.
Gene
kung
editing.
GM ka pa rin siguro, tatay ka na ngayon. Ito na yung mga cool kids, gene editing. So,
Pero parehas lang din.
But the idea is, yung ibang products ng gene editing, yung final product niya, walang novel combination. Like, walang foreign material doon sa final product niya. Di ba sinabi ni Dr. legally we have defined what is a genetically engineered or genetically modified organism. So how would we handle this? Ang Department of Agriculture issued this. Rules and procedures for the determination whether a product of plant breeding innovations, new breeding techniques lang din po ito, are covered under the existing regulations. Bureau of Plant Industry po ito kasi plants pa lang ito. Ang proseso ay tinatawag na technical consultation for evaluation and determination. So halimbawa po, may yung gene-edited banana, non-browning banana, na-develop in other country. Gusto malaman nila, kapag ba ito papasok ko sa Pilipinas, will it undergo the regulations for GMO or not? Well, we can check. Based on using this DE Memorandum Circular, meron po siyang prosesong sinasatin. And the Bureau of Plant Industry serves as the entry point for determination request under this circular. So essentially, dalawa lang po ang output po niyan. Either GMO or non-GMO. So pagka GMO siya, i-advise na kung gusto nyo mag-proceed pa, it would undergo the Joint Department Circular, yung pinakita ko kanina. At kung hindi naman siya GMO, mag-i-issue ng Certificate of Non-Coverage, pero hindi ibig sabihin ito, hindi siya regulated. We're just saying, and this is very important, at uulitin ko po, at uulitin ko ulit, hindi ibig sabihin, hindi regulated ang gene-edited products. We're just saying na hindi siya ma-regulate under the Joint Department Circular. Pero marami pang regulations ang BPI, hindi ko nga po sa ulo eh. For example, pwede siya mag-fall sa plant variety protection. At napakarami pa pong regulations. Sa quarantine po, probably may pertinent laws pa din po dyan and regulations na kailangan implement ang Bureau of Plant Industry. Hindi ibig sabihin ng GMO ka, hindi ka mag-comply. Anything na ini-implement or sinasubject ang isang conventional product, pagdadaanan din po ng gene-edited. Ang sinasabi lang na non-covered siya sa Joint Department Circular No. 1, Series of 2021. Sana po naging malinaw yun. Again, regulated pa din siya, pero hindi lamang regulated under JDC 2021.
Hindi yung joint na.
So ito naman po, baka magtampo kasi baka meron sa ating mga lovers ng animal or mas interested sa animal biotechnology. Nagpaalam po ako, sa introduction nga po kanina, I'm currently working ako with BAI and BIFAR to develop the regulations for the commercialization of GM animals and guidelines for the gene-edited animals. So essentially, kung ano yung experience natin sa crops, gusto nating, pati sa animals, we set the policy and the regulations. Good thing we have 30 years of experience. So we're drawing on that based on the information. And napakarami na po nating experts na gusto talaga, we have to set that policy for livestock biotechnology, for animal biotechnology, for fisheries biotechnology. And we agree. That's why we're working on it right now. And we have recognized the importance of communication. Kaya po may specific kaming undertaking on the communication plan development for gene-edited animals in the Philippines. Kasi yung policy development po namin, binase po namin siya sa isang TIGU study. We look at the state-of-the-art na technology. We actually did surveys to multiple stakeholders, students, so, mga tao sa SOCMED, even the farmers. Like, I would have to commend the Bureau of Animal Industry Biotech Office. Bukas po, isa sa speakers, Ms. Karen Atienza, siya po ang nag-head nito. They went sa different regions of the country talking with livestock farmers. At sila po ay sinubject din sa survey para makita yung perception nila, how they perceive these technologies. Ano ba ang pangangailangan ng isang farmer sa isang technology? Ano ba ang gusto niya? And how do they perceive GMO, modern biotechnology, and gene editing? So these are the ongoing initiatives, and I would say we have to be excited about it. Bibigyan ko po yung floor kay Ms. Karen tomorrow to further explain ko what lies ahead, and kay Dr. Marvin and kay Doc Castoresca. So, yun lang po. Summary, biosafety ensures the safe and responsible use. Hopefully na-drive ko yung point. Second, the Philippines adopt a risk-based and science-driven approach. Third, biosafety regulations are shared by multiple government institutions, interagency. Mahirap, sa totoo lang. Pero, we stand together with the decisions that we make. and we help each other to ensure na walang maiiwan. And lahat is capacitated to do a science-based risk assessment. Fourth, the system covers from laboratory, from DOS-BC, to commercialization, Bureau of Plant Industry. 5, there's a need to balance innovation, safety, and public interest. It's very important. Kahit sabihin ng risk assessment na safe, hindi natin na-manage yung messaging natin about these technologies. And nakikita ko si Miss Teen, si Miss Clem, si Janine from ISA. There are partners to ensure that we are really touching or saying the right messages. Not just to push the technology, but to ensure na tama yung information na kumakalat sa public. There's a need then actually for the regulators to emphasize that what we are doing is based on science, and we're not pushing for the technology. We're vouching for the safety of the technology based on the information that we are receiving and practicing the due diligence. So, yun yung last point ko. So, ito, some pop culture references. Thank you very much. Contact information namin. Ito po yung office namin, second floor ng main building. Yung may Facebook po kami, we're trying to populate. I'm seeing someone na mag-champion sa amin to be more active sa online presence. Ito po yung official website namin, ncbp.dos.gov, and email address po. So, we're happy to receive all queries, information, or gusto niyo lang nakachat. Tamad po mag-Facebook ang mga tao sa opisina namin. So, kung may questions po kayo, this is that. But I'm happy to address this. So, thank you very much.